Welcome back to CFP Nation. I am your host, Nino Brown, and of course, I got a new face joining me again for another episode. My man, the governor of college football, KT, and this is Devy Darling. KT, how you doing?
Hey, I'm feeling fantastic. Three back-to-back episodes, College Football Showdown first. Then we just finished Overreaction Monday. And it's always a pleasure to be on Devy Darling's, man. I'm excited.
Got back-to-back episodes. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
My man Dino's got football practice doing 2 a day, so he's not gone. He needs a little time. It's hard to fit all that in, family, coaching, and
Yeah.
podcasting. So I understand. We're appreciative that KT could join us for this episode. I think it's going to be a spicy one. We're talking about Arizona State quarterback Sam Leavitt. Before we get to Arizona State, there's a lot to talk about before we get there. So let's kick it off. 6'2", 197 pounds. He was the number 21 quarterback in the class of 2023, four-star out of Westland High School in Oregon. This kid was a two-sport athlete, basketball and football. Number one player in Oregon. Oregon Gatorade Player of the Year. He was Max Pleb's Oregon Player of the Year. Kind of has, football pedigree. His dad played linebacker at BYU. Jared, that was his father's name, and his brother Darlin played at Utah State as a safety and is currently playing in the NFL for the Green Bay Packers at safety. KT, the pedigree's there. Football was kind of just seems like it was meant to be for this kid.
I think it's always easier when your parents play the sport. You know what I'm saying? It's just being not necessarily a legacy, but when your parent play the sport, it just makes things a lot easier. But yeah, this guy's from Westland High School, senior years, almost 65% completion percentage, 3,184 yards, 36 touchdowns through the air. Also added 693 yards and 8 touchdowns, over 6,700 yards in his high school career, along with 79 touchdowns. What's some of the attributes you like about this kid?
A thing that he kind of found later in his high school career was his legs.
Yeah.
And he seemed to be really good at it. I mean, like I said, he found his legs later in his career. He added that to his bag. He may not be the fastest kid, but 4'6'7" for 40, at 6'2", 200 pounds, not going to be the easiest guy to tackle. As you've seen in the intro, he's not afraid to take on, linebackers and safeties. He might want to learn to slide a little bit more, but he has a very strong arm. He's got great velocity. He's accurate. He has patience. He will go through the progressions. There's always first three Timmy over here. He spreads the ball around well. He can make some of the layered throws. It's something he could probably polish a little bit, but he does do it well. He's a pure passer with good vision. And like I said, he added the running aspect to his game this year. And I know people are going to say, oh, you're biased when we get to the player comp. I said it to you, earlier in the day, how he reminds me of a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I just see the aspect of his game there. We'll talk about it a little bit, but he didn't really get a lot of hype coming out of high school. There was a couple of offers you could talk to us about him before he kind of decided where he wanted to go. I think people are going to, wish that they had looked at this kid a little bit more before they just dismissed him.
I would have to agree with you. The thing that I saw while watching his film was the release. It's just like effortlessly.
Yeah.
You see him make a 50-yard throw, barely stepping into it. It's just an effort release. And then in high school, what you would see was him going through his progressions. A lot of times, younger quarterbacks, what we saw at Michigan State last season, younger quarterbacks, a lot of time, they see defenders with their backs to him. Hey, I know how to run. I'm going to take off and get yards. But as we seen in the opening, he made that throw with Nebraska was in two-man under. The cornerback was in trail technique. He had to literally fit it right there. So you see the arm talent immediately right there. So what were some of his offers, Nino?
Some of the offers that he had, it wasn't, like I said, Door wasn't getting kicked in. Mm-hmm. But he had Michigan State, Arizona, Florida State, Washington were a few of the big name offers that he had. Ultimately, he committed to Michigan State. And like I said, you saw in the opener, that quarterback room was upside down. There was a lot of guys that were there. Obviously,
the program was upside down.
Yeah, Coach Melvin, he was. You know what he did? We don't need to get back to that.
The phone calls. Too much fun.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But
him and Keyshawn Boutte are best friends.
Oh my Lord! In the 4 games at Michigan State last year, he was 65% completion. Right, he only threw for 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, but he had 67 on the ground. He transferred to Arizona State in December. Okay. He kind of forced, outside of some off-field issues, he kind of forced Rashada out because he pretty much lost the battle to leave it early in spring, right? And we've seen in the spring game, dude developed a connection to finally healthy Colorado transfer Jordan Tyson. It looks like he's going to be the downfield threat, and Sammy Leavitt seems to be on a good page, clicking with him, which is nice to see early. So it's a quarterback room, like I said. Rashada's gone.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of really thin. There's only one really experienced guy there, but I mean, he didn't really run away with it when he had the opportunity last year.
No, he didn't at all.
What are your thoughts on Trent Bourget and then, Jeff Sims? So I'm sorry, but Jeff Sims is like the traveling nomad.
Yeah.
He's probably should have been not a knock to him, but maybe should have converted to a different position, right? Maybe a back or a slot receiver or something, because he's never really thrown for 2,000 yards in the season. Most of his production comes on the ground, and he was god-awful in 3 games for Nebraska last year. Like, god-awful, but they were like, oh, boy, we're scurrying to find it through. He was less than 60% 5 games, less than 300 yards. He had 6 picks and 1 touchdown.
It's terrible, and his opportunity was last year. If he was going to make a name for himself at this level at the quarterback position, he had an awesome opportunity last year, and then it just didn't work out. And then, like you mentioned, Trent Bourget earlier, he was 71% last season, 1,490 yards, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions as a junior, and then as a senior, 60% completion percentage, 1,486 yards, 1 TD. 6 interceptions. So we're starting to see a similar picture here. But if you could look at a quarterback that can be gotten out of the portal that will fit Kenny Dillingham's scheme, it will have to be this kid right here.
Which is funny because he came out and said the same thing that I said.
Mm-hmm.
I think he reminds me of a baby Bo Nix. An early
you're not far off. You're not far off at all.
Auburn version where he's probably gonna have to work out the kinks and figure out they're gonna have some growing pains, probably gonna make some dumb decisions, right? He probably trusts his arm a little more than he might want to early on. Like you mentioned the quick release. When I saw first thing I said, well, this kind of guy's like a Will Levis. Quick,
boom,
yes. Boom, boom, like just quick out of the holster. May not be as powerful as far as Levis, but he can get the ball. But this if Kenny Dillingham can hone in the managerial quarterback skills of Sammy Leavitt, right? Run when you need to, like Bo did. Don't just take off instantly. Run when you need to. Use the assets. Maybe get him to like that Duncan Dink type of quarterback who can throw it a little bit farther than Bo over the top. The sky might be the limit for this kid. He might be a one and done at Arizona State if he blows up this year, because there's going to be some teams looking for quarterbacks. Or maybe him and Kenny Dillingham might find that mesh, and this might be his guy that puts Kenny Dillingham on the map as this next new hot, young head coach. But I just see the running skills, the patience, the vision. You can throw it in a mouse hole, right? You can throw it over a linebacker's head and in between the safeties. So you got those layered throws. The bucket throws probably could work on that, right?
For sure.
But you want to get the ball out quick, he can make that 25-yard rope throw. He'll feed the receiver downfield. Like you said, the Nebraska game, he had anticipation on that play because he fed the ball to a guy where he had to stretch. It wasn't just like, keep running, I'm going to put your hands. I'm going to put it in the only spot that you can catch it, but nobody else can.
No one else would have been able to get to it. And think about it, like Arizona State has a really good running back room with, I always mispronounce his name, is it Scatabo?
Scatterbo.
Scatterbo, Cam Scatterbo, and then they also got McCaskill as well. So that's a great running back
banger
room.
And a sprinter. So
I like the running back room. The tight end, his name is slipping my mind. Arizona State tight end.
Noel? Is it Jalen Noel? I thought Jalen Noel was the big receiver. Maybe he's the big receiver for Arizona State. Like 6'6" type dude.
So I like some of the pieces that they have. You think Kenny Dillingham is going to figure it out?
They got the dude for that was in Cincinnati last year. Cameron Meditor. The guy was in Cincinnati. There we go. Colorado.
Yes.
And then left.
Yeah. So
I think maybe Kenny Dillingham figures it out with a guy similar to what he had success in. Right? With Bo, like he came out and said that he gives him like glimpses of Bo Nix, like the way he plays.
Sure.
So like Kenny was great. The 2 years that he was there with Bo, he was great. The offensive scheme he was calling up, the plays, the packages, I loved it. If you can get a guy like that, I don't know. I mean, the wide receiver room isn't as talented in Oregon. You have Jordan Tyson, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's Smith and Tony Amory. But, like, they're going to need some guys. Like, tight ends could be a thing. They brought in 3 tight ends this year, 3 transfer portal tight ends. So maybe they're going to run up in 2 tight end sets and let these running backs kind of set the tone early, where Sammy doesn't really have to make so many decisions.
Absolutely.
But I love his game. And I think when we talk Devy Darling, it's something of guys that could possibly be at the next level. What is his developmental process, and couldn't he make it to We're looking at guys like Josh Allen, right? Like Bo Nix, guys like that style of quarterback, that bigger guy, run around, that doesn't have to really make. Josh Allen can make the 70-yard bomb, but doesn't really need to, right? Got the strong enough arm where he can make that short and intermediate game work, but has that running capability where he'll run you over. But I also got a quick howitzer where if I get you to bite and you come up, I can make you look stupid, and now we're getting chunk plays.
Yeah, he's incredible. If you look at the flashes that we seen in East Lansing last year at Michigan State, his high school tape is incredible. I know D-Now, some of the comps that he had was Casey Patshaw, Andy Dalton, and as well as Trevor Lawrence. So with Bo Nix, you can kind of see the mold that a lot of people see him in. He's that. Would you consider him dual threat?
Bo?
No. Sam Leavitt.
I think Sam. Yeah. I mean, 700 yards on the ground. Almost at double-digit touchdowns. I think he's just finding his dual threat capability. Yeah, that is why I think now you're going with Dillingham. I think Dillingham's like a little kid on one of those lock boxes. He's unlocking everything. Let's go. I want to see everything behind the wooden box. And reason being, why Jalen Rashada was like, I'm out. This kid's probably got a lot of the skills that I have, right? And it seems that coach likes him a little bit more in this system. Maybe I got to go.
Yeah, I think that had a lot to do with it. And it's rare when you have an open quarterback competitions for a coach so early on in the process. Like, this is our starting quarterback. Got it out the way early. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You see a lot of teams let it bleed into the end of fall camp and regulars. It just doesn't. So I'm interested to see what we get out of this kid this season.
And you mentioned the running back room. I think this kid's going to make the running back room a little bit better. They don't need to go full RPO, but they have the chance to, where they can run those, Oregon RPO style plays, right? You saw Bucky, Noah Whittington, Jordan James were all successul on the field together, right? We heard Bucky's just an outside runner, and he proved everybody wrong this year. We can run 100%. Inside and outside. With these two backs, bro, if Scadaboo and Leavitt roll out together in an RPO, you got to bring a linebacker and a safety down, because if you don't, it could get ugly. You know what I mean? And then you bite, and then he hits a tight end on a 5-yard out. Now the dude's downfield 25 yards. Or hits Jordan Tyson on a blown coverage because everybody bit on the RPO roll. I don't know. I just think the combination of Leavitt, Dillingham, what they've got in these pieces might not be year one success, but it could be end of the year one success, tally over in the year two. And now all of a sudden everybody's talking about, I know Felix Sharp has always talked about Sammy Leavitt, so I got to give him his credit. Well, we can talk about Sammy Leavitt like people talk about Gary Nussmeier this year.
I like that. I like that a lot. This kid got an immense amount of talent.
All he needs is an opportunity.
That's it. I'm interested to see how well Arizona State fares in the Big 12 this year.
That's why I said year one, it's got some growing pains all the way around.
It will certainly be some growing pains, but I think there'll be a game or two that they'll win. Like, how did Arizona State win that game? I think that'll happen in year one. They'll win a game or two. You just be like, there's no way Arizona State wins this game. They're able to pull it out. And it'll have a lot to do with this kid right here.
It seems as of the recency in the SEC, they're going to this smaller, undersized linebacker, right? Kyle Perkins, right? All these guys are 6'1", 6'2", under 225, right? Like that's
perfect for the 4.25.
Well, you get a kid that's 200, 210, thick mold, can run out there, not afraid to bang with these big boys. He down in the fourth quarter when he's still got his legs and these guys are a little winded. He might be the reason why they're in a couple games that they might not have been in last year. You know what I mean? All right. It's Devy Darling on the CFB Nation. I am your host, Nino Brown. Again, Dino's on 2-a-days for football. He's coaching. So we had the governor fill in. It was a pleasure as always. We out. Sammy Leavitt, your Devy Darling for this episode.
Let's